James Hill, IFL TV, in association with Matt Clinch in Marbella. We're in the Hydro today. Just witnessed Ricky Burns retaining his WBA Super Champion against Cardle Willick. Very intriguing fight. Very interesting. Great fight.
Close fight.
Closer than what the judges may have had it?
Definitely. I mean, I had it probably 3 rounds, maybe 2 rounds. 118, 110 was a weird one. I've seen a few weird ones lately. 118, 110 to Armfield over Ryder. That was another weird one that went against us. So
just
for all those moaners who say it's like, you know, sometimes it's just bad judging. And 118, 110 was bad judging. Simple as that. 116, 112, yes. Although I still had it closer, but I thought Ricky's experience, you know, after 4 rounds, well, after 2 rounds, I was thinking, blimey, probably had Willick winning the first 2, and then 11 he won. I don't know, probably had it 7-5, I guess, but experience told, and a good fight against a very talented young fighter who will definitely come again.
Is that what we should take away from this? A great fight, let alone forget the scoring, forget anything else.
Look,
it was closer than what it was.
Look, I mean, in the Linares fight, I had that 2 rounds and some guy scored it, 6 rounds or something like that. So as long as the right man wins, the scorecards are a little bit irrelevant. The only thing that's a bit sickening is if you've trained for 12 weeks to lose 118, 110.
Cardle Willick was absolutely distraught when he's changing room like that. He actually was. You could see it in his face.
Yeah.
He was actually distraught.
You know, he's had a chance to win the world title. And you know, I'm not one who necessarily believes in you've got to come and rip the title. But you have got to come and rip the title. You know, you can't sort of be losing by a round or 2 and get the decision in Scotland against a champion. Whether people think that's right or wrong, that's life. So the right man won. It's just how much he won it by. A really good fight. You know, all the time. Ricky completely controlled the back end of the fight, and then in the 11th round, I think he was hurt badly, and I was hoping that Willick would empty his tank after 5 or 6, and he didn't. He kept going. You know, I know Ricky Hatton and those guys are upset. You know, but he'll come again for sure, and you know he's put in a great performance on British TV.
Before we talk about the rest of the card, what's in line now for Ricky Burns? What do you want Ricky Burns to do?
I want him to have the big fights. I want him to have the fights that people remember. I want him to have the fights that are going to secure him, you know, for a beautiful life. He's given everything to the sport. The Adrian Broner fight was there. He chose this fight, which was crazy. But that's the kind of guy he is. You know, he wanted to get the Broner fight right. And actually, you know, with Broner, you know, as he is, perhaps that was the right move, because maybe we could have been waiting December. You know, everyone seems to be waiting for December fights that are now turning into January and February. So, you know, Ricky can have a rest now and probably look to box himself early next year. But Broner's a good fight. Crawford's been on to fight him in a unification. You know, all those fights are out there, and you know, I think he can fight who he wants. But really, he's done his job here for me. You know, I'm not saying that's the end of Ricky Burns boxing in Scotland, but he's given a lot to Scottish boxing. I think it'd be lovely for everyone to have a little road trip. Obviously, we'll have to fly there first, to Vegas.
Of course. Let's talk a little bit about...
I suppose it would only be a road trip if you actually flew somewhere and then drove. You couldn't fly to Vegas and then just get a cab to the MGM. It's about 5 minutes. It wouldn't be much of a road trip.
No, we ruled that one out. Let's talk a little bit about your heavyweight child, DILLIAN WHYTE, winning the British title, 2nd time of asking.
Yeah.
Big moment for him tonight.
Do you know, I thought it was a good fight. I mean,
I agree, yeah.
You know, Ian Lewinsohn, talk about people who are devastated. That man is one tough mama jammer.
Do you know how sick he was when Don Charles pulled him out?
I know, but you know what? Don Charles done 1,000,000% the right thing. He was getting busted up, his nose was busted, his eye socket looked like it was gone. You know, and when there's no way back in a fight, which I think it was about that stage, you've got to pull him out of the fight. And I'll tell you something now, if Ian Lewinsohn gets himself into shape, he would be a very good heavyweight. He's a very talented fighter. And, you know...
Space for him on one of your cards?
Yeah, for sure. And look at the mix. You know, you've got guys like Dave Allen, you know, who will fight anyone. You know, Dave Allen against Ian Lewinsohn's a great fight. But I would like to see Ian Lewinsohn go away and get into shape. Because he wasn't in shape tonight. And I don't think it's that he just didn't train. I just think his last few years he's been unmotivated. He's had a big payday tonight. He can go and get himself right, invest in his career, you know, get a nutritionist, work on his strength and conditioning, because he can really fight. You know, and a lot of people look at O'Hara Davis. Look how well that belt looks on O'Hara. Look at O'Hara. We've got to get you one of those, baby. It's coming. It's coming. You know.
OD ain't messing about, is he?
OD. Yeah. So I really want to see Ian Lewinsohn stick at it, and I want to see him get in shape. And I really think, he was a real top amateur, and a lot of people who was with him at the amateur stage, this was a long time ago, this was before I was around, said he had a lot of talent. And I really hope he sticks at it because he can get back into big fights. And it was a good performance from DILLIAN WHYTE. But listen, DILLIAN WHYTE's got a chin, and so has Ian Lewinsohn. I said to AJ the other day, I went, DILLIAN's got a good chin. He went, mate, DILLIAN's chin is unbelievable.
The best YouTube comment, Dylan's got a chin like Desperate Dan. That's probably the best one.
I enjoyed the fight. It was Lewinsohn's got fast hands, especially for a big man. He hit DILLIAN with a lot of shots. DILLIAN's body punches was excellent. I enjoyed it.
Let's talk a little bit about Scott Cardle. Great win for him against Kevin Hooper, and he really did need that win to get his confidence back up, to sort of restore faith in his own ability.
Look, the Dodd fights, he had to go into Dodd's backyard twice and fight him, and the second fight, there was a lot of animosity, nastiness, but it was a bit ugly because of what happened in the first fight. And then the second fight, the draw, it was even worse. So, although he was paid well for those fights, although the experience was good, it was tough on him. And he had to come back and fight a mandatory, which, no disrespect to Kevin Hooper, not a lot of people knew about. So, but they wanted it in Glasgow. He had the fight in Glasgow. And I think it was probably one of the best performances of his career. I think he can go on from there, one more for the Lonsdale belt, and then move on to the European. There's a great lightweight fight next week, Derry Matthews against Luke Campbell. Perhaps the winner of that fight, I don't know, but good win for Scotty, and I think back on track now after a couple of not disappointing performances, but even by his own permission, probably average performances, and he's a lot better than that. He's a very talented fighter, and I think if he can get the confidence going, get the momentum going, he's 21-0, 21-1, so he's had 22 fights now. So he's kind of like 2 or 3 fights away from being slung balls deep, and that's exciting.
Let's talk a little bit about DILLIAN WHYTE's next opponent. Everybody wants to see the Chisora fight. I know you've been inundated with people asking for that fight to be made. Can it happen in December, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it all depends, on Chisora, on DILLIAN, how much they want it, how realistic they are, how much money's in the fight. I don't know of, other than the world level stuff and like the really tough fights, I don't know another fight out there for them that's going to be as well
lucrative.
attended. Yeah, very good, James. Yeah, lucrative's a good word. So I think they should dive into it. I mean, you've interviewed Dylan. I don't know if it was a tough fight. I understand these heavyweights, they're big dudes. So like, that was what, 10 rounds, 11 rounds? It was a hard graft. So we'll see how his shoulder is, his hands are. Do we do it this year? Do we do it January, February? We shall see.
Any movement on Anthony Joshua? Is there anything you can tell us?
I was
at
a
the
bit
moment?
pumped up in an interview on Sky tonight. I got a few people excited, but it is close. There's still a long way to go. Like it could break down like that. But AJ wants to fight. Vladimir wants to fight. Bonti wants to fight. I want this to fight. The whole world wants to fight. So we have an obligation to get it made. And if we don't, we'll let down boxing, in my opinion.
Is the fact that some betting offices are taking bets on the fight a good sign?
They do that. They do that for all kinds of different fights. But it's a big favourite to happen next. A big favourite, but it's certainly not a done deal. So.
With Liverpool next week for
Can't
Tony
wait.
Bellew.
Massive card. Tony Bellew against BJ Flores. Get your popcorn ready for the press conference in Liverpool on Monday. And then Bellew against Flores, Campbell against Matthews, Burnett against Farag, Mashadod, David Price, Rocky Fielding, Tom Farrell, Scott Fitzgerald, Craig Glover, all of the kids from Liverpool, and it's going to be a great card. And I think people understand that ultimately this is boxing, this is sport, this is
most beautiful sport one can ever imagine. And Junior is on the right path.
I'm done. That's all you're getting. I'm not a performing dog.
Cheers, Ed. See you later.